So, good morning. A bit of a smaller round today. Let's get started. So, everyone is talking about the AI revolution, but what does the scorecard really look like? If you look to a couple of facts, 4 out of 5 AI projects, they fail due to missing business integration. In pharma, often they never go live. Even the ones who go live, they don't feel the ROI. And only 1 out of 4 companies, they really see a significant financial impact from AI. So important to know when we talk about AI today in this presentation, we talk about really the tailored, the business use case driven AI solutions and not the everyday usage like ChatGPT, Copilot, etc. But what we clearly see is that a lot of AI projects fail. They really fail to deliver real business value. And the question is, why is this the case? And we will look into it. You know, there are a couple of reasons why AI projects can fail. In a lot of companies, the workforce is not enabled towards AI, right? We heard from Alyssa yesterday, but we also heard it from Marco. AI literacy is key, right? The organization, people needs to have a certain mindset, but also a certain skill set towards AI, right? They need to start using AI and they need to start using it in the right way. So that's key. Then we have the data depth. The AI model is only as good as the underlying data foundation, right? Which means you need to have clean, accessible data. Then, of course, you need to have a clear governance in place, which creates a kind of a framework where you try to maximize your AI impact. But today's focus is on the so-called shiny object syndrome. You know, a lot of AI projects fail not because of the technology, not because of the algorithm. They really fail because of the missing business focus, right? You know, AI is trendy, it's shiny, right? And a lot of people just want to do AI because of the buzz, but not to really solve a business problem. The good news, there is a clear approach how to tackle that. And that being said, welcome to my presentation today about reverse engineering, why starting with the business process is key for sustainable AI impact. My name is Timo. I'm the head of applied data science and AI in Global Digital Commercial Department at Teva Pharmaceuticals. And the approach we are talking today about, it's a fundamental mindset shift, how we think about AI. It's a mindset where we do not start with the technology, we do not start with the algorithm, but we really focus on the business outcome, what truly matters. You know, the former German Chancellor, Angela Merkel, she also used reverse engineering, right? I think she faced in her political career a lot of problems, even maybe hundreds, even thousands, right? And she always started with the solution. So she thought about how the solution should look like, and then she went step by step back to the problem, right? And that's reverse engineering. But here in this context, in the context of AI, it does not mean that we start with the AI and we go back and ask ourselves what kind of data is needed. We really focus on the business process itself. So if we look at the AI value chain, right? So the usual AI value chain, to do AI, you need data, right? So we start with data, and then we fuel them to the AI, and usually we have a kind of an outcome, right, of an AI. For example, a price prediction, which is an insight. This insight can support a business decision, right, which will maybe part of a business process, which will be executed, supporting the business impact, and always following a clear business objective. And especially the last 4 steps, they really they contain the business process, or they frame it, right? So everything inside this frame, this is process territory. And the AI value chain is from left to right. So this is really tech logic, right? But if you look from a business side on it, you shouldn't start on the left side, you should start on the right side, right? So the use case innovation starts with the business outcome and not with the technology. And then we go step by step back. Only if the right error is in place, we really can start implementing the value from left to right. But how does this approach to really start with the business process look like? So we at Teva, we have worked on a so-called business process first AI canvas. It consists of 5 clear steps. So you start always with spotting the business process. Then you model it, so you map it end to end, so who does what and when. Then you take decisions and manual steps. These are your AI potentials. And even like after these 3 steps, they are like highly focused on the business and the value spotting. And just then you really start ideating what kind of technology is needed, what kind of AI solution is needed. Is it a large language model? Is it a classification? Is it a time series forecasting model? And never forget to validate data, operations, and also governance. Only if like these 3 topics you have a green light, then you can open a Jira ticket for your data science squad. So it's 5 clear steps, no rocket science, but yet I think they set the baseline to turn 70-75% failure rate in AI projects to real business impact. So let's look into these 5 steps. As said, so we start with the business process. So usually the scope is based on your business priorities. That ensures that, of course, your AI portfolio follows your business strategy. When you spot the business process, never forget also to name a business owner and even a business sponsor. We have heard, like even here today and yesterday, so many times about top management commitment, right, and how important that is. So like this basis will be set here. Then afterwards, now it's getting a bit more serious. You map the business process. I'm not sure how many of you know Signavio. It's an SAP company, and this is coming from the traditional business process management area, right? And it's always important to model the business process end to end, to really consider the big picture. You really want to make sure that you optimize your whole business process and not like having a kind of a fragmented solution. This also supports you on a later stage integrating your AI solution into the business process. And it also helps you uncover hidden potentials you would have never thought about, right? In a lot of cases, you have a kind of an idea what kind of business problem or business opportunity you would like to use AI for. But maybe there are additional things you haven't had in mind. So, and with this approach, with mapping the business process end to end, you just want to make sure that you understand the big picture. And we have here on the right side just a standard example. It's a credit request. It's modeled in SAP Signavio, right? So we have a clear business process flow from left to right. You have in the rows, these are swim lanes, which shows the roles and different teams. And each and every task, like each and every box is one task which will be then executed. And we use that as a baseline now to really take business decisions and manual steps. As said, like these are the boxes where we have our AI potentials. So the more information you add here, the better, right? So if you have any kind of metadata, for example, a manual step, you add, what's the effort, what's the time this manual step need. This helps you on a later stage when you really want to quantify the ROI. So you take decisions and you take manual steps. And only if this is done, then you really start with the ideation, right? And I have talked now about, okay, what kind of AI should be then maybe used, but we should see it even a bit more holistic, a holistic technology-driven approach, which ensures that not always AI is the solution for each and every issue, right? Sometimes you need a dashboard. In other cases, you need, I don't know, Microsoft Power Platform solutions to solve a business problem, right? So you can really do that independent of the technology and not always focused on AI. And so if we look at the economic value of AI, it's efficiency and effectiveness, right? Efficiency means doing things right. So this, you have a given target, a given output, but this really focuses on the resource use. So how much time, FTEs, money, energy is needed to come to a given target, right? And remember, in the step before, we have marked our manual steps, right? So you can automate that, and this is really going into efficiency. On the other side, there's the effectiveness, right? So really doing the right things. This is about improving the quality of a process, maximizing the output at the end of the day, right? Independent of how much resource is needed. And there's a Gartner study which says that, like, if we look at the whole economic value generated by AI, 2/3 of it is generated through decision optimization AI. So it's not the everyday usage of Gen AI, which supports you writing an email 5 minutes faster, right? It's really about bringing your decisions to the next level, leveraged with data and AI, right? So, and this is really the effectiveness, right? This is where the AI levels lie at the end of the day. Again, always underestimated, but really, really important. Now you have to validate data, operations, and governance, right? So this is also an example for like keeping the EU AI Act in mind, right? So you check also at this stage like the different AI use cases or technology use cases you have identified. Are they in line with the EU AI Act? Do you have a medium or even a higher or prohibited risk due to the EU AI Act? So you need, in this step, you need a lot of green lights. And the most important one is you need to have your data in place, right? And you can have, and a lot of companies have a very fragmented data landscape, right? And you can have as many data as possible, but if you do not have a proper data strategy in place, you will never manage to fuel these really, really high important data to your AI products, right? So this data strategy really connects your data with your AI products in the end of the day. And when I talk about a data strategy, this is also a term which a lot of people are talking about, but a lot of people understand different things with it, right? It's having a data catalog in place where you have a kind of an inventory list. What kind of data do you have in your organization? Who is using it? Who owns it? Who is taking care of quality, right? So data governance, having clear processes, standards, and role in place, supporting your data landscape, right? So maybe you heard about the data steward. I think this is one of the most important roles in the future, having a clear stewardship for data to have clean, accessible, high-quality data, which will be fueled then into your AI products. If one of the these steps is not green, like the light is not green, then you should go steps back. Maybe you should review like the business process you have selected. You should review like maybe the decisions, the manual steps, even go back to the ideation and think about maybe other technology solving it if you do not have, for example, the data in place, because half-baked AI never scales. When you have managed all that, then of course you start with from left to right. So this is the tech side. You start with the implementation of the solution, right? And when you start with it, no moonshots. Fast MVP development, so minimal viable product, the smallest unit of a functioning system where you can very quickly validate first results. Even at this step here, if everything else went smoothly through, you can still fail. You will fail from time to time, but if you fail, you have to fail fast and in a structured way. Okay, so if we look back to the AI value chain, from left to right, the tech logic, right, the implementation, really you then gather your data, you fuel it into an AI or any kind of other technology, you create an insight, for example, a price prediction, and then you plug it into your business process. But if you have still the business process AI first canvas in mind, it really starts at the opposite, and it's a mindset shift. You start with the business process, you spot the business process, you tag it, you map it, you tag manual steps and business decisions, and then you think about what kind of technology is needed to solve a business problem or support a business potential. So that being said, that's it. Thank you. Enjoy the Profnik, and don't forget to keep the business process in the driver's seat. Any questions? Yes, please.
Well, I do without a mic. First of all, congratulations, because the first time that I've seen such a structured way to introduce AI. Congratulations, I really appreciate it. Only one thing is, at least to me, missing. I don't know how you are managing in Teva, which is how to put in the governance a real new coordination mechanism within the organization. Meaning, for example, you mentioned privacy, you mentioned risk of hallucination, whatever bias that you could have in AI solution, how you have changed the organization in Teva in order to manage also this, if you have done.
So this is not replacing, that you have to deal with an AI governance, a data governance, etc. Like this is only approach where you can make sure that the AI potential or the use cases you want to tackle, that they always are focused on creating real business value rather than doing it just because of the buzz, right? Of course, you have to take care of having a proper AI governance in place. You have to be in touch with legal, with privacy, etc., right? And like a governance means, for me, you also need to have a clear operating model, clear roles and responsibility, who is taking care of what at the end of the day, right? So this is not replacing it. You just see it as a kind of a framework, but it's not the one-fits-all solution. You just have to take care of all the other important things. We have also seen the different reasons why an AI project failed, that it's like this is really focusing on the shiny object syndrome. You still have to take care of your architecture, of your governance, of your literacy in the organization.
Thank you.
Yes?
Hi, just a short one from my side. So I really like the framework. One question I have maybe about how do you manage to convince the stakeholders that you need to have this structured way of working, because we are not living in a perfect world. There are deadlines, there is pressure all the time. We are all juggling priorities. So my question is, what are your tips or experience in educating the organization that this really needs to be put in place so that we can have medium and long-term effects on the AI applications?
So, I've seen also in like myself and in my team a lot of mistakes in the last years. What we have made AI projects with have an incredible accuracy, like for example price prediction. Like the prediction is unbelievable good, but we have never really worked together with the business and have followed this approach to really plug it into the business process. And the result was accuracy great, but business usage almost zero, right? So this is a kind of a negative example you can show, and I think education is always a two-way street, so people do not know what they do not know, right? So education you mentioned, I think that's really important, that you educate them, that you show them what's possible, but you also show them clearly, look, this is the very tangible approach how to get there at the end of the day.
So I have basically two questions. The first one is, well, you're certainly right regarding starting with the business problem in let's say 90% of cases.
Yes.
10% of cases might be indeed fueled by a sort of tech push from the AI side. How do you ensure that you don't miss these? So that, for example, a new possibility the business side never thought of could be implemented by using AI. And my second question is more regarding the difficulty of measurement of success.
Yeah.
So sometimes you have projects where the alternative is just doing nothing, and you don't have the numbers for what would have occurred if you did nothing. So even if you don't have a higher profitability, for example, by the project, it may be that if you didn't do it, your profitability would even decrease. So it's a measurement difficulty, I see at least.
Fully agree. So maybe let's start with the first one. Again, I think it's a kind of it's a two-way street. So you're right. So like this framework, it does not covers all the cases we have in the organization, right? But it's a structure, it's a starting point, right? I think a lot of people are lost in the AI area because it's not that tangible. And this gives you a starting point, right? I think it's a clear framework, 5 steps, no rocket science, which you can follow. And I think on the other side, we usually use this when we, we see ourselves as a bit of an internal center of excellence, right? And we go into, like, for example, a market. I'm working in commercial, and I see themselves as a kind of stakeholders, right? And you go in there, and you're doing a workshop and saying, let's go through that. Like we have specific business area based on the business strategy, and let's really look at the business processes. And there you cover a lot. But of course, on the other side, I think this is the literacy component again. You have to make it as tangible as possible. You have to show the organization use cases which are successful. People needs to get a feeling what is possible with the newest technologies, that they really, that you build classes for them, that they see new AI potentials or any other technology-driven potentials on their own, right? Because nobody knows the problems and opportunities we have in an organization better than the people dealing with them each and every day, right? So you really need to educate the basis in the organization in the hope that they identify maybe also new potentials which you cannot cover like with this approach. And the second question, I think one of the most complex things in this area is to objectively measure the AI impact, right? Because in a lot of cases, maybe you do not have a direct business impact where you say, look, we are sending out an emailing campaign generated by an AI system, and the customer can press a button and then an order will be generated in the system. Then I clearly can map, okay, like this is AI generated contact, it triggers an order, and like this is the business case behind. In a lot of cases, we saw it, you're supporting decisions, strategic decisions, what kind of price to announce, right? And sometimes you do not even know if an employee in your organization is following the recommendation of your AI. And what you also mentioned, you do not know like what would have happened if I haven't had the AI recommendation in place, right? So you only can maybe estimate it, and what we usually do is all the business case figures we have, they are coming directly from the business and not myself, right? So like this fully business committed. Further questions? Okay, so thanks again.